Hello and welcome to the Happy Hour Hustle podcast with our host, Kim Bodie.
I am absolutely thrilled to be chatting with you.
Principal and fearless leader of 834 Integrated Communication. On this podcast, you're going to learn a lot about a lot, like public relations, marketing, digital, and advertising.
That's a nice way of putting it.
Forgive us if you hear some dogs in the background. We are obsessed with them, and there is a medium-sized pack at the office at all times.
Fantastic.
So grab a glass of wine, preferably one with ice in it, and learn a little something today.
Hello, hustlers. Welcome to another episode of Happy Hour Hustle. It's been a while since I've actually hosted. I mostly make Emma do it. Don't worry, Emma's here if we have any followers of hers. This is a very special podcast. We talked, I think our last episode, we talked 834's 16-year anniversary. What a lot of people don't realize is when we started out, we had no employees. We only had interns. And they, quite frankly, built the entire foundation of the agency. We pay them now, so that's good. I'm just kidding. We always paid them. No. Anyway, so I wanted to chat with Emma, who's in her first year at 834, full-time employee, and then Amberly, who's our newest intern. So say hello.
Hello, thanks for having me.
And hello, listeners. You already know the sound of my voice, but this is Emma.
It's true. So we're gonna kind of jump in. This is a podcast for those that are like fresh in their career, those who are still in school, and it's meant to hopefully energize you, and maybe you'll learn a little something. So Emma, you started as an intern here. How is the internship different than the real job?
Oh my gosh, scary. Just kidding.
I yell a lot less, right?
Yeah. She's staring at me, guys. Help. Just kidding. Honestly, I feel like my experience at 834 has been very constant. I feel like 834 does a really good job of making the interns a real part of the job, the culture. There wasn't that big of a transition going from intern to full-time. I mean, obviously, like, full-time.
Now you're here more.
Yes, quite literally.
That's the obvious.
Full-time is no joke, I will say. After my first week, I was like, damn, people have to do this
Weren't
for
you
the rest of their...
Weren't you tired?
So tired.
I still remember that, and it's been a long time, granted, but I still remember that my first week working 40 hours, and this is coming from, like you were involved with PRSSA and Grand PR, the student-run agency at Grand Valley, not to mention all these other things, but suddenly when you're working 40 hours straight, weren't you just so much more tired than doing all the evening things and all the stuff?
Exactly. I would say almost like being here, there wasn't that big of a transition. Like, I love the team and I already know everyone and I know what I'm doing. I know our processes. But just that transition of being like, yeah, this is your job and this is what you do now. It was just kind of a shock at first,
Yeah.
Like, this is for real.
Yeah. Okay, Amberly, so you have done a lot of internships, a lot. I remember when we talked to you first about that, I was like, wow, I'm impressed. What would you tell people, because now I think it's required for the most part, but what would you tell people is that you get out of an internship, or that, the reason why an internship is a good thing to do?
Oh yeah, definitely. It is just a learning experience that you don't get in the classroom. Learning the office culture, everything, just like the norms of an office, just working outside of the classroom.
Skills.
Yes, it really is a lot of soft skills that like it's unteachable in the classroom. Also, just there's certain things you don't learn. Like, I didn't do much media relations. I had like one class, but in a lot of my other classes, it's mostly just been like digital things. So coming here, it's like I'm learning so much more than I think I would learn if I was just in school.
What skill do you think you use the most now? We'll start with Emma. That you use the most now that you didn't realize that you were going to be using? Honestly,
I do think education like gives you a good baseline of what research is, but I did not realize how research intensive the job is. Researching reporters and going in depth on their Twitter accounts. They're like stalking them on Facebook, like doing whatever you can to customize a pitch to secure a media placement, things like that. I didn't realize how much time I would spend doing the little research and
Yeah.
stalking, which is
Yeah.
kind of fun. But
I agree with that, and I think that's something I've noticed when I started. I was like, am I spending too much time researching this? I think that's like the main obstacle I'm trying to get over right now is like, am I spending enough time on this? Am I not spending enough time on this type of thing? So definitely research. I think writing is a huge part of
Yes.
PR, but how much writing, everything we do is writing. So like just working on those skills, definitely when you're entering into an internship or your first career, super important.
Yeah, and that's the stuff that's really going to set you apart. Because not a lot of people hone their writing skills or use their writing skills, you know, like consistently. And we're not talking research papers and stuff like that. And press releases are one thing. They're odd. They're kind of odd to write. Like it's an upside down pyramid. We're not going to get into what that means, but whatever, just Google it. But I will say, like, you do a lot of creative writing too. You do creative writing, there's blog writing, there's writing pieces that, you're ghostwriting pieces for the client. So being able to understand tone and voice, being able to adapt to the right audience, and then just write to write. Like that's probably my biggest piece of advice to people. Just write to write. Write in your journal. Like you don't have to write for anybody to ever see it, but write in your journal. Start a blog for yourself to talk about your journey. Like you'll go back and you'll read that stuff, and you'll laugh at yourself as you should. Because you'll be like 12 when you started it, and then you'll realize, yeah, I knew nothing then. But I just write. Always write. Write a few sentences every day.
And I think another thing, talking about like creative writing, also being creative in general, I feel like in school you're supposed to stick so closely to rubrics and assignments and wanting to please your professors and wanting to get that A. So then I feel like sometimes you lose the aspect of, no, you're supposed to use your kookiest ideas and go for it. And I feel like that's something that I'm almost having to relearn. I think being full-time is at school I was so worried about checking the boxes.
Yeah.
And so now I'm like, I can check the boxes and have fun with it.
Yeah, and it's finding your own voice, because I don't think that, and that's why I think outside of school, write, have a blog, do that kind of stuff, because you do have to adapt, in school to please the professor, or, to write in a certain manner, AP style, if you will. So you do, I think when you get out, it's almost something that you kind of have to break yourself up. Okay, so I have a question. I want to give this, I want to talk directly to businesses that have internships, because I think some don't do it well. I think some don't understand the value that, having an intern the value an intern can bring to an organization. So what are some of what's a few pieces of advice you would give a business for, having an intern working for them?
I think having a set plan for growth and development, because if you have an intern that's been there for a year, they should not be doing the same thing they were doing when they first started. So just making sure you have something laid out strategically before you even start the hiring process, so you're not backtracking once they do start. And then just having check-ins and asking what are you doing that you are not liking? What are you doing or what are you not doing that you want to do?
Yeah.
Just communicating with them is so important.
Yeah, I also think being open to their ideas. I think a lot of times there's this disconnect between the way that Gen Z is viewed.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, there are a lot of Gen Zs that I'm like, whew, yikes, I would never hire them to be my
I'm happy to hear that.
Yes. But then there are others who have such good ideas and who are serious. And I think that's another thing, is you can be serious and have these trendy, fun ideas. Those aren't two things that are completely separate, Those are synonymous with each other. And so I think that's my advice for businesses with interns, is let them let that Gen Z-ness out. Accept it, hope for it.
I mean, study the terms.
Yes.
Yes. Period. And what are some other ones?
Also, honorable mention to Queen, King, and Vibe.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I have been using Vibe more,
Yes.
but I feel like I shouldn't, because of my...
you should.
Oh,
No, you
okay.
absolutely should.
You guys aren't judging me for using
No.
Vibe.
No, when you say it, I'm like, she
She's
knows
with
what's
it.
up.
She's
with
with it.
That's what I'm saying.
It means I'm cool, guys.
Yes.
It means I'm cool. I do think, I want to ask you this, Amberly, because you've had, is this your first agency internship?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've got agency, you've done nonprofit, you've done, all of yours have been very different. So what would you say is more, what would you say is different about like working within an agency than, elsewhere?
I would say how fast paced it is, and I think when you first start, it's a little overwhelming because you have clients to learn, and it's not just learning what they do; it's like how they write, what their tone is, type of thing. So it's just an extra step when you're writing for them, just having to like do that research beforehand. So that's why I'm looking forward to when I'm here for a little bit longer. So it's like comes natural to me, and just I think one thing I am learning is that it's okay if you don't have absolutely everything done at the end of the day. I came from a place where like if I had like one thing that I didn't finish, I was like beating myself up for it. Like, why didn't I finish that? But like here I feel like there's so much to do, and like it's close to impossible to get everything on your to-do list done.
It's all about communication, because there are a lot of deadlines and there are a lot of things that maybe seem urgent that you just have to manage expectations. It's whether it's communicating with the client that, this is not going to happen today, but we'll get it to you on this day, or whether it's communicating with, a coworker or with your manager. And I think, advocating for yourself is big across the board. I'm not just talking internships. I'm talking like within a job too, like being honest and upfront, versus like, and that's something we're really big on here is like the transparency. It's like, talk about like how you're feeling, if you're feeling stressed out, like, because we always want to acknowledge, people's mental health, or, if they're off or something, or if you need something. But I think like advocating for yourself is really big. And then you'll learn that, I think, as your career, as you move through your career. Because I think when you first start out, you feel like low man on the, I can't say that. You feel, right? I can't. Can you say that anymore? Low man on the totem pole?
Low person.
Low person? I don't even think you can say totem pole.
Yes.
Yeah, like, can I say that? I don't know. Well, you're all here for this journey. Anyway, you feel like bottom of the pile? I don't know. Can I say that? Man, who's to say? But, you do feel like you can't necessarily speak up. And I think there's ways to do it in a respectful manner. I will say that sometimes, there is a sense of entitlement that isn't maybe necessarily earned, that I've experienced with, employees, interns, other people. We'll wrap this up. What's one piece of advice that you would give to a new grad, to somebody who's in their first internship, whatever?
I would say to be gentle with yourself and to not be so hard on yourself. I think I don't know. I feel like some of this advice is so like particular to me in my situation because I feel like I work in a place where I'm really supported and like I can rely on other people. But having coworkers be like, whoa, you can push that back. Like, just talk to me. No, you're fine. Like, this was really great work, Emma. And I'm like, really? I was so nervous to give this for them to review, and now they just said it was good, and that was that. Like, why did I work myself up so much about it? To just take a deep breath. Everything will get done. Be gentle. You have time. There is enough time.
We are not saving lives here, people. Exactly. Now, there are some times where, like, the deadlines are a little, like, it's nerve-wracking. I get it, too. Yeah.
But, like, at the end of the day, nothing is too pressing that you can't go to someone and talk to about it. And you can't just buckle up and do it. You know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah, don't be so tough on yourself.
Yeah, my answer is kind of about the same thing, honestly. I think as a young professional, you want to do so good because you're new, but it's just like you're naturally going to know less than everyone else you're working with. So it's so hard not to beat yourself up for it or like feeling guilty for asking too many questions. And I guess that's my biggest piece of advice is if you don't know, just ask. Like, it's better just to ask than to do it wrong or just have to do it over and over and over again because you keep on messing it up. Like, it's okay to ask questions. You're going to have questions when you first start somewhere, and it's the vibe. It's fine. Like, you'll get over it.
Yes.
No one asked me, but I'm going to answer that question. I would say invest in the relationships. Take the time outside of work to grab a coffee with a coworker, or your supervisor. Like if they're a good supervisor, they'll make time for it, especially if you buy them a cocktail. Just kidding. That was talking from my own experience. But I think it's really important to understand that, like, I mean, I still run into like the supervisor I had at my very first, like internship. And I think, investing in those relationships, staying in touch, sending, handwritten note, doing like just remembering that those relationships are going to be really, really important, throughout your entire career. That's huge.
Yeah, and also like people are people.
People are people.
Yes.
Yep.
Like I remember when I first got to move to Grand Rapids, and then I finally after work, like we had a cocktail or two, and I was like, I'm gonna stay for another White Claw.
Woo!
Just because it's fun.
That
We're
was fun.
Yes, you know what I mean? Like those are the things
Yep.
I feel like that take you further and just
Yeah.
like deepen those relationships.
They do.
Personally
They do.
and professionally.
Because you're investing in it.
Yes.
Yeah. I think this is really beneficial, and I think it's better for young professionals to hear from actual young professionals than my old ass talking about it. So here we are. Yeah.
Lots of wisdom to share.
So much wisdom. So thank you for being here, and hustlers, I will see you on the download.
We swear.
Yes.
Okay, period.
Yeah.